to you, I may look old. Hope this statement ain't too bold, but here comes the judge.
Man, Judge Napolitano, you are all over this one, and this is about the National Security Advisor, Susan Rice, sending herself an email on Inauguration Day, President Trump's Inauguration Day. Lay this out for us, buddy. First of all, good morning to you, my friend.
Oh, good morning, Jamie. Always a pleasure, no matter what we're talking about. So it's 12:15 in the afternoon. Barack Obama has not been president for the past 15 minutes, and Donald Trump has. Susan Rice is still at her office in the West Wing. She's no longer employed by the federal government, but she's still there. And she sends herself an email memorializing a conference that occurred in the Oval Office 16 days earlier. And she says in the email, President Obama met with the head of the FBI, the DOJ, various other entities, and we talked about an FBI investigation into whether or not the Russians influenced the outcome of the election, and the president emphasized that the investigation has to be undertaken by the book, in quotes. Now, why would she write something like this 16 days after the event occurred, unless she wanted to varnish the meeting, unless she knew or feared that the meeting would become public because her boss had denied that he had had meetings like that? And why would she put by the book in quotation marks? It almost invites the type of criticism that she's getting now. So this feeds the narrative that there was a serious effort on the part of the Obama administration, right down to its last few moments, to frustrate the incoming presidency of Donald Trump. Originally it was to assure that Hillary would win, and after that failed, it must have been to frustrate Trump's ability to exercise the office of President of the United States by visiting these investigations on him. Are the investigations real, or are they fanciful? And who would believe this summary of events written 16 days later? Why would it have been written? What did she learn in those 16 days that caused her to do this? I don't know the answers to those questions, but I do know that she has a lot of problems with her credibility. This is the same Susan Rice who, in the first term of Obama's presidency, was the U.S. ambassador to the UN, and in the second term was his chief national security advisor. And in that term, after the Benghazi attacks, she went on national television and told 5 of my colleagues at the various networks that Benghazi was the result of a anti-Muslim video.
Yes.
We know that was a lie. That was several lies. She's also the person who vouched for the bravery and integrity of Bo Bergdahl, of all people, who since has pleaded guilty to desertion. So she has very little credibility. Now we discover this email. The email, by the way, guess where it was discovered? In the National Archives, where official documents of the federal government are kept after the preparer of the document is no longer in the government. You tell me, Jamie, where is this going, and who would believe her?
Well, so who found the email then? So how was it?
Well, the House or the Senate Judiciary Committee sent a broad form subpoena, one that didn't identify documents, but basically said all documents within your custody that pertain to meetings that the President of the United States had, or meetings in the White House involving James Comey and others. And this one popped up in reply to that subpoena. So this was innocently given to investigators for the Senate Judiciary Committee. Now, these investigators are usually retired FBI agents who know what the type of thing they're looking for and generally know where to find it.
Now, let me ask you this, though. This is interesting because, so they wrote a letter to her wanting an accounting of this email, and it appears that these individuals, like 2 of them, the Democrats, Feinstein and Sheldon Whitehouse, basically were carbon copied on the letter to her, but didn't sign off on it. So it doesn't seem to be that they're even remotely curious about this, which is disturbing because they're supposedly on this Judiciary Committee, which is a truth-seeking operation.
I'm sure they're curious. They're probably afraid of what they'll find.
Yeah.
Which may very well be, and I'm sorry to say this, that the ringmaster at the center of all of this use of government power to interfere with Donald Trump getting elected and then interfere with him being the president was his predecessor, Barack Obama. I don't know that, but fingers are beginning to point in that direction. For example, President Obama told my colleague Chris Wallace that he never discussed the Hillary investigation or the Russian investigation with anybody in the Justice Department. Yet we have a text from those two characters in the FBI, Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, in which one reminds the other, I don't remember who's saying it to whom, POTUS, President of the U.S., wants to know everything about this. This was in the context of the Russian investigation, and this was October of 16, so the POTUS referred to there as President Obama. So if FBI agents doing the investigation were aware that the president wanted to know everything about it, that's obviously inconsistent with the president's representations that he wasn't influencing these investigations. He didn't just say it to Chris Wallace. He said it many, many times. I don't talk to the Justice Department about individual investigations. These things are done, and he did use the phrase by the book, which may be why Susan Rice put it in quotes. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know where this is going to go. You and I and my colleagues here at Fox have been talking for 3 or 4 weeks now about the House Intelligence Committee and FISA and government abuse of power, and the conversations don't get stale because every week there's more to talk about.
Right, but you know what, though, Judge, I'm detecting, and it's on the part of my listenership, and I'm sure your viewership as well, a sense of frustration because we don't know where any of this is going, but we also don't see people pursuing it to a degree that we would actually find out. So, like writing a letter to Susan Rice is one thing. Is there anything more that can be done to compel her to actually be on the record and testify? Do we need to have...
Yes. Oh, my goodness. They are going to subpoena her, and it'll be quite a confrontation. I mean, she's no dope, and neither is Lindsey Graham. So you're going to see two very intelligent people very much go after each other. Of course, Graham is the interrogator, and she's the witness under oath. She has to tell the truth.
Yeah.
I don't know what she's going to say or where it's going to go, but it'll be high drama in the Senate Judiciary Committee when they do interrogate her.
Yeah, that will be something. And then I know also there's this story floating around out there about how Comey at one point was telling some people that he didn't think that Flynn lied to the FBI, and then suddenly weeks later there's Flynn pleading guilty to lying to the FBI.
Yeah, that's crazy. Now this is a different FBI and a different team of prosecutors and investigators because by the time the general pleads guilty, which is in December, Comey is gone, and Bob Mueller and his team of FBI investigators and agents and his prosecutors are running the show. But if there is evidence that the original team that interrogated General Flynn, January 24, 2017, Trump has been in office for 4 days, did not believe he lied, and yet another team of FBI agents 10 months later are looking at the transcript of his interrogation and conclude that he did lie, and they persuade his lawyers that he lied, and they persuade his lawyers that if he were prosecuted, he'd be found guilty of lying. Man, there's a piece of the puzzle that's missing, and I'm dying to get my hands on it.
Yeah, well, if anybody's going to get their hands on it, it's going to be Judge Napolitano. So always good talking to you, friend, and really fascinating stuff, and thank you just for cutting through it all for us. I really appreciate that.
All the best, Jamie. Until next week.
You too, friend. JudgeNap.com, @JudgeNap. Yeah, this is going to be something. I can't wait to see, actually, the Susan Rice appearance at the Judiciary Committee. Grab some popcorn for that baby. 969-9797, 866-455-9797.
At